I just wanted to start by saying my one-year commit anniversary is in 2 weeks, and I was super fortunate to have Eric guide me through my onboarding and got to spend 90 days really having conversations and talking to people and learning a lot, and especially learning from Eric and Mark. Unlike some of you who are in this sort of scrappy startup phase, I so fortunate to have inherited a structure of 57 high schools across 11 districts, 11 higher ed partners, now 12 partners, and most importantly, an infrastructure that allowed us to be able to do this work. And that is really our combination of our Signal Vine work and our Green Line work, but most importantly, our Promise CM work. And we were having Eric and I were having a conversation with one of our district partners who was demoing another platform that they use, Eduphoric, and sort of helping us to see what they use. And they walked through 4 different systems that they use. And so I asked the question, well, what do the advisors actually use? And they said, the one that is the fastest, which, in all honesty, is not Promise CM. And so that really prompted for me, well, what additional things, or how are we telling people that they can use Promise CM in the way that our advisors will turn to this first in order to be able to make sure that their case management is abundant? So just really quickly, this is the timeline of how the systems of Dallas County Promise evolved, starting off with a PDF of your weekly progress reports, and then moving to a more basic financial aid tracker, and then launching of Promise CM in Salesforce in 2019. And we're at a point now today where our Salesforce can disaggregate the data by race and gender, has alumni tracking capability, and integrates with Greenlight. You can see these are the first weekly progress reports that you would get. These are PDFs. They look a little bit like the numbers that you get now, but those are much more interactive and integrate. And this was your first FAFSA tracker. These were the initial Promise CM dashboards. And these are the kind of dashboards that you can get now. As some of our previous speakers have mentioned, part of the value is the ability to move data back and forth. And so these show critical alerts like Social Security number mismatches, name mismatches. So our advisors can actually go in and say, okay, who can we not even move through this process because the information isn't speaking correctly between systems, and how do we fix that? And then there's another layer. Let's see who hasn't yet filled out a financial aid application. Let's see who hasn't yet appeared as an application in Apply Texas. And they can pull all of that and slice and dice it by race, by gender. The great thing about this system is when you pull down into the student level data, and this is actually the bottom of what that student level data looks like, here's where a real value goes in the communication that goes back and forth. So in this year's pledge, a little bit different from previous years, where students could check off every institution as an institution of interest, we ask students to indicate first choice, second choice, third choice. And then we say, please opt out if you don't want to receive communication from any of the others. So if all of our higher ed partners want to market to students, great. But if an institution like UNT Dallas wants to focus on the students who have indicated as a first or second choice, they can. And you see here, they can indicate an interest in a career pathway. So the School of Education here can say, can you tell me all of the students who picked UNT Dallas as a first or second choice who indicated education as a pathway, because we'd like to market to them? Or especially if institutions are looking to do their transfer marketing work, which has become a big piece of the supports that we're offering, they can focus in there. And then if you look at that communication flow on the backward side, I'm working and our team is working with our Pre-K-12 coalition to actually do some really targeted work to high school students who have indicated an interest in educator pathways. Let's get them some specialized advising and some additional supports to make sure that they're accessing the right kind of educator pathway programs. And that's really important. One of the great things, and I think all of us would say that Mark Flanagan is a godsend to this work. Not sure what we would do without him. Yes, please, let's give him applause. Is that when our districts say, hey, I wonder if Promise CM can fill in the blank, Mark will make it happen for folks. We have seen heat mapping and all kinds of TSI dashboards built out for our district partners. And then there are basic things like a district asked us to add in a field of a FAFSA-TASFA opt-out. Now that we have a graduation requirement, we're having instances where hopefully not too many students are opting out, and we're happy to see that our districts are marketing that and using it as the last choice option and not the first choice option, and I applaud that. But we can pull specifically who has opted out already, so that if you want to look at the data at the end of the year to say, okay, did financial aid applications actually increase? Or are we getting to that compliance through an outsized number of opt-outs? This is one way that we do it. And the tailoring for simple things can be done fairly quickly. Some of the complicated things, especially now that we're looking at trying to have more real-time college readiness data, are complicated because that's a lot of systems that talk to a lot of other systems. But we're moving there because we do want for our high school advisors to be able in real time to say, who needs my most intensive support now? Where are they in the processes? Can I have some low-hanging fruit pieces like fixing social security number mismatches? Or, do I need to engage more people power to do another financial aid night because my financial aid completion is low? Really quickly, because I want to wrap up, we do a senior survey, and it has multi-prongs of utility, a couple of benefits. Internally, it helps as we get feedback on the program to see the kinds of things that we can do better and how we can serve our students better. It also helps to identify gaps in terms of, in May, these students are generally completing this survey between March and May. How many students are there that still are undecided in a plan? And then, again, you can drive into that, and if districts want to choose that to do one last push of intensive support, that's there. Most importantly for us in our work in this past year, it helped us to sort of red flag that summer melt was going to be an issue, as it always is. We had among our pledged population about 4,300 students who were enrollment eligible, so they had completed all of the steps in the process, pledge, FAFSA, admissions application, and had been matched with an institution, but hadn't completed all the enrollment steps. And so this highlighted that we needed to do that. We spent about 5 weeks internally doing one-on-one student efforts and then engaged an external entity to do that work in July and August, to call up students and say, hey, let's log into your portal together. Let's see what the missing steps are. Let's sign you up for your orientation appointment. Let's help you find a meningitis shot. So that personalized attention to get the students through enrollment. But it was this data that helped to highlight that that was an extraordinary need for us this summer. And so the tools that we have in a much more real-time and automated way, I mean, I'm sure all of us that have done this work remember the voluminous Excel spreadsheets that we used to have to track all of this. And we still hear stories sometimes about people using them from time to time. But it's really this system that we've put in place that is going to save you time, as Robin talked about, in having to sort of push paper so that you can actually spend the time with the people. And it is that infrastructure that Eric and Mark put in place that allow us to do that. So I leave you with a question, and you can always reach out to me or to Eric or Mark when you have this. Are there features that you wish that Promise CM had that it doesn't have? As we're thinking about how we evolve the kind of data that you have access to and the work that you do with students on behalf of students and in partnership together, are there dashboards or functions that you wish it had that would help to make your work easier? And we always want to hear those things from you. And I got you back on track. Thank you so much.